Winston is Eastern Friday.
Okay. Well, Winston is native.
The Winston, but
Yeah.
Okay, hello, everyone. I'm Mary Rose, the interim president.
Sorry, hey Susanna, can everybody? Oh, are you the host now? You're on the screen here.
I didn't make myself host. You need to spotlight your yourself, and you can make me.
All right, members, yes. Welcome to the New River chapter of the Native Plant Society. We have really special guests today. We have 3 of our grant recipients. Virginia Sanborn is doing the Ivanhoe Birding Trail. Jenny Hardaway and her daughter Wren with the Blue Ridge School in Floyd, Virginia. And Carly Palvin with Pulaski High School. They're doing neat projects. So we'll start with Jenny Hardaway and her daughter. And I did want to thank Beth for arranging the room here. So come on up, Jenny.
Hi, I'm Jenny Hartway. I'm from Blue Mountain School in Floyd, Virginia, and I'm the forest programming director there. We serve students from 2.5 years old through 8th grade, and each of our classrooms is committed to being outdoors for 50% of the day. So we have 2 and 2-year-olds that are sleeping in hammocks, and then we have big kids like Wren who are sampling streams and cooking over campfires. When we began working on this garden, we had no idea how it would impact our school year. As teachers, we always have this plan of how we think our school year is going to go, but we're a contemplative, progressive school, and we feel it's really important to share control of that plan with our students. So our students, we know they learn best when we follow their passions and their interests. And they were so excited about this project from the very beginning. We were able to expand on their interests, and the number of connections we made in our community just blew us away. We were so surprised at the impact it had. And it was so much richer than we imagined it would be. So I'm here to share with you not only how the physical space transformed, but also the transformations that are rippling out into our community. We are just at the beginning of understanding where this is going to take us. We have students who, through this project, have found that they might want to have a career in plants or in agriculture. We have teachers and families that are learning and putting into practice a lot of the things our students have been sharing with them, which is great. And it's also caused us to look at our campus with a very critical lens on invasives. And you know what a big job that is. It was a little late for most of our students and teachers to be out on a school night, but I felt it was really important for you to hear their voices. So I made a video of them, and we just really want to express our appreciation and our gratitude for this grant. It really transformed our school year, especially for our older students.
This worked before, so.
In February 2022 at the Floyd Library, there was a wonderful presentation on the importance of native plants by Ian of Woodthrush Native Nursery. At this meeting, Jane Cunliffe shared the wonderful grant opportunity available for students to create a native plant garden. I immediately thought of a neglected parking lot on our campus. We've been dreaming of remaking it into a garden. This would be a place where families could gather and learn. And thanks to the New River chapter of the Virginia Native Plant Society, we were able to bring that dream to fruition. Blue Mountain School is a very small nonprofit school located in Floyd, Virginia. We're almost 43 years old, and our roots are deep. We were originally founded as a homeschool co-op by many artists, health practitioners, and others who were hoping to live close to the land. From their inspiration and hard work, our school grew. All these years later, students, families, and teachers continue to laugh, learn, and connect with each other and with the outdoors on our large campus. Nearly 15 years ago, our school stepped into the model we have now as a nonprofit with a board of trustees, a director, and other administrators supporting well-qualified, dedicated people. During that important time of shifting into our current model, families, teachers, and board members worked together and co-created our mission, vision, and values. We make time to revisit these important concepts and renew our dedication every year. We work together to provide a holistic approach to educating the whole child. We want to instill a love of learning, cultivating lifelong learners who grow and the change makers this world needs. Probably having extensive background in nature and science. But I soon discovered that my students and I was very thrilled by that. I've learned so much from them. Their knowledge of edible plants and explorations and many other things is such a valuable lesson to me. And they can even identify birds now, and I'll say, what bird is that? And I'll tell you what bird that is. So coming here and being involved in the program has been an amazing experience for me personally, and I love sharing with you. And all the ways as we were further on the topic, and everything that we involved in the spread, and all the students were working, that's terrible. Volunteering in the food environment, especially over the summer, while the waiting for all community connections. This project was really creative of real plans and more than protection many of we also want to avoid that and here in the beginning, because they play virtual and when we first started learning about which plants to work best in our garden, Ian shared about how native plants are really made for this environment and require less care. We also really wanted to include an edible plant. The one part of the garden we all agreed on was that we wanted a red bud tree. In my garden, I'm sorry that the children's voices were a little softer than the adult voices, but they really enjoyed it so much. And we did have to negotiate with them a bit, you know, they were really campaigning hard for a weeping cherry. And we talked a lot about ornamental plants and cultivars. And so we compromised on a, what's it called, Rin?
Which one is it though? It's the lilac twist, red bud, which we understand is a cultivar. And then we also added a few edible plants to it just because it was really important to them that we have something they can eat, that people can eat. But our next steps are to get it certified as a wildlife habitat. And the only thing we really have to add for that is a water fountain or a bird bath, some sort of water source. And we have a donor lined up who's ready to donate that for us. And then we're raising money, or we're collecting number 5 plastic films. We're working with Sustain Floyd to get a big bench there. They make benches out of Trex materials when you recycle those. So we're excited to do that. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
How many acres are going to be planted with the native plant?
Right now, it's a small garden. It's about, what's that?
Repeat the question.
So the question was how many acres are planted? It's a very small garden. It's about, it's as big as the table space here. So that's how big it is right now.
It's still a lot of.
Yes, yeah. Any other questions? Yes,
So, just to clarify, the students chose the plans and created the design?
they did. They did. So at the very beginning of last year, we had a teacher who'd moved the week before school started from Texas. And we said, hey, guess what? This is your project now. And she was not familiar with our land. She was a big gardener in Texas, but this is a very different environment. And so she shared the project with her students and she said, I don't know anything about these plants. I need you to do the research. And they all began researching different types of plants. We took a trip to Spikenard. We had Ian come and talk to the students, and they began to narrow down their list because they had a huge list at first. And they had big paper and they drew their design and what they wanted it to look like. And it went through a few transformations before they were really ready to dig into the ground. And then when they went to Wood Thrush Natives, I don't know if anyone's been there, but it's very easy to be dazzled, and they really just wanted everything. But Ian helped steer us in the right direction. And then Mother's Child Farm, Mother's Child Nursery, with Naomi. I'm sorry, her last name, I've just blanked on it. With Naomi from Mother's Child Farm, she also gifted us so many beautiful plants. And she had started planting native plants along the entrances to our building. So we had some like established swamp milkweed and a couple of other things there. Well, thank you.
Have you considered applying for an additional grant for signage or more plans?
Our original, we do have a little bit of signage. So when our students were working, part of this garden, it led to creating a native plant and animal mural at the rec park in Floyd. And we had a beautiful sign there. And we also had this mailbox that the students had decorated with local plants. We really talked about the difference between local and native. And someone painted a plant on it that was not native, but was local. So we let it stay. That was the person who painted it. And so we had a beautiful sign and a beautiful mailbox that we ended up not needing at that place. So we've installed it in our garden, and it's letters to Mother Nature, and students, there's a little notebook that can live in there and a pen, and students can write little notes and stick them in there. And we had a few students write notes during our project fair, which is at the end of the year, and it's where we showed the garden off to families. And so we have that sign, but I think our next step would be getting small individual plant signs. I think that would be our next step. Yes.
For the small individual signs, have you been talking with the Plant Southwest, the native plant campaign with
Nicole Hirsch, yes. Nicole Hirsch actually helped us get a lot of shrubs and bushes. I think back in, was it February or March when they did their big sale?
Because you've
And-
been offering signs too.
Oh,
Which
nice.
I think our chapter will probably be starting doing it next year too.
Okay.
Signs.
well, we'll check in with her. I know one of the students had talked with her on the phone about having her come out and visit. It might be time to reach back out. Yes.
What kind of heavy equipment did you all use to break up that? It must have been very compacted soil. And what was the darker soil that you put on top?
That was a donation from Griffith Lumber
Uh-huh.
in Floyd. They donated a couple of truckloads of what wasn't supposed to be mulch, but was actually so composted, it was just almost like soil. Yeah. So they donated that, and we had a parent go shovel it into their truck and then drive it, and the students unloaded it. We used, I believe they were backhoes and a bulldozer to just begin to break it up because it was compacted from sitting. Ian had suggested that we use a chisel plow, I think that's what it was, a chisel plow. And we searched everywhere, and that was difficult to have somebody bring and do for us. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, we're gonna get the teachers first. Sorry, Virginia, just so that if they need to leave, they are welcome to. So Carly Paulvin with thank you, Pulaski High School, and the sensory trail there that she developed in partnership with the students.
Yeah, you guys switch and I can talk. Once it's up there. Escape. On it like over here, maybe, and then escape.
Okay, I was trying that, but in the wrong place.
We'll try to figure it out. Well, hello, everybody. I am Carly Pavon Ballard, and I am the agriculture teacher at Pulaski County High School. This is a project that most of you have actually seen. You came out and visited, gosh, I think that was 2022, maybe fall of 2022, maybe. I'm not sure, but you guys came towards the beginning of our project and what we were doing. I think I can see it now. So I'm gonna show you guys, this is a presentation that my students and I made. I wish my kids could have been here with us, but all the students that actually made this graduated high school already and are now in college. But we actually traveled all around the state over the past year presenting this presentation and other ones like this, showing our donors and our supporters what it is that we did at our school and what we're gonna continue to do over the course of the years that we have here. So the sensory trail at Pulaski County High School, what we're going to cover is like why it started, what it is, and then how we actually implemented it, and then how y'all's support helped us create this project. So what is the sensory trail? This is an outdoor educational space first. So at our high school, we have a large campus, and on the campus, there is a chunk of woods that has been used, like there's a trail on it, they've maintained the trail occasionally, and most of the time it is used for science teachers to go out there and do hands-on labs or for the cross-country team. Past that, no one used it at all. And it was very overgrown, and it still is, but it is a work in progress. It is about 5 acres of woodline that we have that we can work with. We are starting on a very small 1/2 acre lot right now, which is what you guys visited. And most of this project is going to be on that half-acre lot, but we are slowly working into the woods. Each year, we're taking a farther step into it. So it's an outdoor educational space that we are made accessible to all. And then it is student-led and co-curricular, and it serves as a service learning project. So in the agriculture world, for ag teachers, one of our big things that we have to think about are, what is the purpose of our project? Why are we doing this? And is it going to provide for someone else? And to be the like top level project, it has to be a service learning project, meaning that it's, yes, benefiting the kids and myself and the school, but it has to also benefit people in the community as well. So our outdoor educational space, a little bit about it. It is an educational and sensory space. So we are thinking about all of our students in this area, and we're really focusing on the students who might not have access to nature. So we have a lot of students in our classroom that have handicaps or disabilities or different abilities. It makes it really difficult for them to actually go outside. So our school was built in the 80s. And at that time, if you were wheelchair bound, or if you had a physical disability or a cognitive disability, you weren't really seen in the schools. So the way they built the school and structured it is very difficult for anyone who is unable to move around by themselves or has a hard time doing that. So we noticed really quickly that I couldn't actually get my students who were wheelchair bound or who were visually impaired or had to have a para walk with them and help them. They couldn't access nature and go outside and view everything that we were doing. It was really challenging for them, and that space just wasn't working out. So this happened to be during COVID is when this project really kind of started. And the reason I needed to get them outside was because I couldn't keep them in the classroom. And if you guys have ever been around teenagers and you ask them to sit still for more than 15 minutes, it does not work, especially when you have a mask on their face and you're telling them to just sit there and do computer work. They don't like doing that very much. So that was really challenging for them. And so we actually got them outside, but that's when we realized that there was a problem and not all of our students could go outside. So we created a learning environment that we could invite all of our teachers to go to and utilize, so that they're covering those SOL standards, those standard tests that the kids have to take every year. We wanted them to be able to learn about those outside instead of being stuck in a stuffy classroom. And when school is closed, this is a community garden as well, so it's open to anybody. You can go there from 3:30 as long as you want to be there, and then all summer long it's open as well. And we have a lot of people that actually come out and use the space and use it however they feel. We have field trips that go there. Sometimes we have nursing homes that'll come and do visits as well. We have our parents will use it if their kids are playing sports and they're waiting and they're trying to waste time. They'll go and hike the trail and enjoy it as well. And it's a community garden, so there's also places where you can harvest crops that are there, or you can plant something and add to the garden as well. So again, this happened during COVID when my students were stuck in the classroom. They were climbing up the walls and driving me insane. And my boss told me, well, just take them outside. I realized not all my students could go outside and could access nature the way I wanted to, and especially the path that was already there. It was about 50-degree slope straight down a hill. And so if I had a student who was wheelchair bound, yes, they could get down there. They were going to go down there really fast, and they were probably going to crash. And then it was very, very difficult to get them back up the hill. So we wanted to make them a space where they could access and have the same opportunity as all of the other students had. So we started to do that. And so about once or twice a week, we would go out there and we would kind of like look at the area and figure out what we wanted to do. And then we realized that there were a lot of invasive species that were out there on the trail. So this, again, student-led project, and our students were the ones who found the apple trees that are on the trail, which is where most of the trail goes to. They were the ones who noticed that there were invasive species that were choking out the poor apple trees. The apple trees were planted there in the early 90s and were part of an agriculture project. But then over time, all the autumn olives grew up over top of them, vining plants of all kinds, everything. It choked them out. We didn't realize they were there, and we started actually digging in there and pulling out invasive species. And the kids are like, oh, is this plant supposed to be here? And we would look it up, and we'd use the little picture this ID app on our phones. And they're like, oh, that's a really bad plant. We should remove it. as we kept digging in there, we started to realize that there were apple trees, and we were like, okay, well, now we want to save the apple trees. And so we removed all of the invasive species, cleared it out. Most of it was by hand. And then the few bigger plants, we had somebody come in with a little skid steer and rip them out for us. But most of it was done by the students. So after that, I was like, okay, they're invested in this project. They like doing this and they want to make this place better and they want to use it in a really good way. So I really let them have creative freedom. We would pretty much brainstorm ideas. We would go out there, we would think about what can we add, how can we make this more accessible, what can we do to this environment so that everyone can enjoy it. Even 20 years down the road, it's still there and is usable and people want to use that. So the students own their projects. It is their project, their name gets put on it. It shows like they committed to it, and it's not something that they just do in like 1 or 2 class blocks. They're doing it for the entire semester or even several years. So they are doing it for the skills and for the passion of that project. And I always tell them, do it for the resume. So at the end of the year, we write a resume and it's their first time ever writing one. And they put down all those skills that they learned, and they don't realize they learned so many skills until at the very end when I've documented everything they did. And they're like, holy crap, I know so many cool things. And then it really sinks into them that like what they're doing actually matters and it's going to help them in the long run. Even if they never step foot on the sensory trail again, it's going to impact their life in some way. So these are some photo examples of my students doing different projects. I think when you guys came out, we had the gravel path laid down most of the way, and we had some of the flower beds established, but now we have a lot of different elements in there, and it is officially open. It opened in May. So you guys are more than welcome to go out there, or if you guys want a tour, you can schedule a tour with us and we can actually have students tour you around and show you all the work that they've done. Our funding, this has come through grants, donations, and then just general community support. This just shows you some of the different organizations and people that have taken the time to donate their time or money or supplies for us. Salem Stone Corp is our largest donation. They've donated all of the gravel throughout the entire path, and they're going to continue to do that forever. Anytime we need gravel, they're going to give it to us. We've also worked with a few other places like Virginia Outdoors Foundation. They gave us a $30,000 grant, and that helped us tremendously because we were able to buy a lot of the hardscapes that were just really time consuming and a big money crunch for us. And then we bought all of our native plants from y'all's help. So here's some more pictures of our students making some of their projects. So on this trail, we want this to be sensory friendly. We're wanting to enhance the senses like touch, sound, taste. We want them to actually engage with nature and do different things with them. But then we also want to keep in mind the students that might be lacking in one of those senses. So we have educational exhibits down here. The kids make these exhibits so that it is educational, so that if a history teacher wants to come outside, they have a reason for being there. We're trying to cover those SOLs. And so the kids are making an exhibit that has legit information on it that is going to cover something that they might learn in another class. And then there's going to be a hands-on portion to it as well, so that they're getting that tactile portion. They're actually going to put their hands on something and get to move it around or play with it and do something that's going to make it stick to their brain. They can read stuff all day long, but if they actually put those two together and they touch it, it then helps with their memory. We then have QR codes throughout the entire trail. So if there's somebody who is visually impaired or is unable to read, we have QR codes that they can scan with their phone, and it'll pull up a video of our students reading over that exhibit entirely. And then it goes into more detail about that exhibit or that garden space. So this makes it a lot easier for people to engage with that area and not be kind of confused as to what might be happening in that space, or they're not sure what they're supposed to do in that exhibit space. So our students had to learn how to make those. And so you can see in that top corner is one of our templates that we made, where they worked really hard to figure out how to position a QR code on there. We also have plant signs. So like you guys were talking about earlier, we were planning on doing the smaller plant signs, but then we realized that if somebody's visually impaired, they're too tiny. So we actually created really large signs that are about 1.5 feet by 6 inches or so. And it's really large print, which is ADA compliant. So it has to be 1 inch in length and about 1/2 inch in thickness for each letter. And so we had the carpentry class, they wood engraved it with a wood burner and put them in there. And then there's also QR codes. So you can scan a QR code. It'll pull up a little video of a student teaching you about that specific plant, its growth habits, what kind of water it needs, the sunlight it needs, soil, how to propagate it, things like that. So they can learn a little bit more about what that plant is. If you go in the garden, you're like, man, I want to know what that is. There's probably a sign there telling you what that plant actually is. Then I had the bottom right, it's the Calypso chimes there. I invited the technology group out, and they mainly focus on robotics and all of that. And they came out and they asked me what I was doing with a bunch of zip ties on the ropes. And I was like, oh, well, that's my Braille code. That's how I'm going to tell people that there might be something coming up if they're visually impaired. And they were like, well, you know, we can 3D print Braille for you, right? And I was like, I didn't know you could do that because I don't know how to do any of that. So these kids came up, created Braille codes that they can put all over the trail. So now somebody who is visually impaired can actually navigate through the trail. There's directional ones telling them how to get in and out of the trail and what the different gardens are and what some of the different exhibits are. So everything is labeled so that if somebody is visually impaired, they can navigate this without needing assistance, because that's our main goal. We want them to be free in nature and not have to rely on somebody else to help them through everything. So now, of course, I'm a teacher, so we have to look at the learning in this. And so this shows you guys just a quick list of my competencies. So competencies are the topics that I have to cover in my class. So on the right-hand side, it shows you all those different numbers. Each one of those is a different topic. And this shows you the different topics that we were able to cover by working out on the sensory trail. There's over 40 different topics in all of those different classes that I offer that work on the trail. I don't have to teach those in the classroom because we have the ability to go outside. They're covering all those by doing hands-on projects, and they don't need me sitting there lecturing to them or giving them a bunch of notes or anything like that, because they're learning by doing. And then it shows you the group projects that they worked on. So they had to do a lot of research. Everything they did, they had to research it first. They had to pitch an idea to their class. They had to pitch an idea to me or to the school board to be able to get approval for it. They had to do even more research on what would it look like in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years. They had to update the class on their research. They had to then window shop. And then they had to actually work with different businesses to purchase everything. So once they got grant or funding, then they would have to actually call up a business and place an order. I wouldn't do it for them. And that was something that was really frustrating for them because they don't like talking to strangers. They definitely don't like talking to adults. So making them pick up a phone and call somebody instead of text somebody or Snapchat somebody, they were not okay with it, but they all managed to do it really well. And they actually were able to come up with a really good project. And then that ownership took place. They were excited about the work that they were doing. And they were like, I did this from start to finish. My teacher did not help me. It was all them. Now, in the middle column there, it shows you some of the main skills that they focus on in the sensory trail. Leadership is a big one. They don't realize they're doing leadership until they are actually leading their crew, because one person will pick a project and then 5 projects get voted on out of 20. And then past that, they have to get their crew members together so that they have somebody working on their team. And so they have to lead them. They have to encourage them. They have to guide them if they're doing the wrong thing. And they have to come to me whenever they need more assistance. So teamwork is another big one. Then we have our hands-on skills. They have to learn how to budget and estimate. I'll give them a total. Hey, you have $500 to spend. You have to spend it wisely. You don't get any more from that. If you don't spend it all, then you get to add to your project and make it a little bit better. And so there's a lot of different things that come into play when we're talking about this project that they have to do. And then here are some photos of my students working on the trail. We've got students that are building signs. We've got students that are doing landscaping on the trail, learning how to actually maintain it. We are doing plant identification. We're harvesting apples finally. Our trees are producing apples for the past 3 years. And our students actually take those apples and they can them and make apple butter. And then we sell the apple butter every year as a fundraiser for the trail. We are tamping all of the gravel. We did that by hand. The students have built picnic benches that are handicap accessible, wheelchair accessible. They've built raised beds that are accessible to everybody as well. And now, how did we make this accessible to all? This was our biggest challenge because, of course, when you have able-bodied students, it's really easy for them to make something that they can access. But the moment that we think about somebody who is visually impaired, who has a cognitive disability, who has a mobility disability, there's going to be some challenges to it. So they had to create a pathway first, and it has to be wheelchair accessible and ADA compliant. So they had to look through this huge binder of all the ADA rules and guidebooks for anybody that is building anything. And they had to go through it and research every bit of it and figure out what they could and could not do, how big their trail could be, what kind of gravel they could use on their trail, and so on. Then they had to come up with a guide rope system. So you can put somebody on the trail and tell them, good luck, there you go. But if there's somebody who's visually impaired or can't really balance well on their feet, they need to have support on the trail as well. So now there are ropes that run parallel on all sides of the trail so that somebody who can actually grab a hold of it, they can bear their body weight on it, and it helps them guide through the entire pathway of the trail. And the students had to research all of that, find the materials, make sure it was weight bearing and that it would last at least 20 years. And then they created the QR stands and the Braille code for everything. Then we made the educational sensory portion to it. We have the waysides, which are going to be our educational signs. And then there's a QR code to them, and then a hands-on element. And most of them are going to be enhancing the senses. We want them to enhance a certain sense at a certain area. And then for nature, we have a lot of raised beds, different heights for different people of different needs. We have plant signs throughout the entire thing of all kinds. And then we are a certified pollinator garden. So how did we do this? Again, we use the accessibility guidebook. There's a QR code there. It goes through everything and everything. The students had to talk with the Life-Centered Ed course, which is our advanced course for students with disabilities. They go into that course to learn how to money manage, how to cook, how to do laundry, things of that nature. And so we actually leaned heavily on those students to be able to tell us what they needed in that space. Instead of us just assuming what they needed, we asked them to come out and actually tell us, no, this pathway is too bumpy, or the roots are in the way, or your rope isn't at the right height, or the texture is off. It might be too rough of a texture, and so it throws somebody off sensory-wise. So we actually utilized them and they had the opportunity to give their voice and their opinion on everything. We wanted to make this for them. So if we can make it for them, then everyone is accessible. Everyone has the ability to use this space. So you can see two of our students. One of them is blind, and she is actually our main person who led us through every single part of it, because she works with all of her peers in that class and knows all of their disabilities and knows all of their abilities and knows how they can and cannot do things. And so she would actually come out every week and test out the trail and tell us where we were going wrong or what we were doing right. And then the other student over there who is wheelchair bound, he had actually never touched soil before. He had never had the opportunity to put his hands on a plant and manipulate it in some way. So my students created a raised garden bed, which is its own kind. There's nothing else like it. We researched everywhere in the United States to try to buy one, and we could not find anything. Out in Europe, they have a few designs, so we kind of looked at theirs and made something that would be easier for us and less expensive. And so our students created this design, and we now have two of them, and we're actually working on our third right now. And so it has a round front to it so that you can roll the wheelchair right up to it. So the plants are going to be like right at your chest, instead of a standard raised bed where you have to kind of reach to get to the plants. And so it makes it easier. So if somebody has mobility impairments in their upper body, they can like lean down easier towards the plants and have access to them. So here's a list of the native plants that we purchased. Our students had to do all the research to figure out what would grow best in our areas. We've got some really sunny spots. We've got really shaded spots. We've got some spots that are kind of eroded, and so water just pools up in those areas. And then we have some areas that is just like, there's no water touching it. So they had to come up with different ideas on where they were going to put these plants at. They all had different garden spaces that they were required to work in, and they had to do all the research for it. And then we worked with a nursery in Dublin. I think it's Dublin natives or something like that. But we worked with them, and they came out and they actually looked over the kids' lists, made improvements when needed, and then they taught the kids how to plant them correctly. And we did that in the fall of last year. And then here are some pictures of our garden space, a little bit, just showing you what plants we used and what's thriving. Our native plants are thriving far more than any plant that we purchased from Walmart or Lowe's. I tell you, they are doing so well. And I know when you guys came out last, we were talking about our deer problem. The deer haven't touched the native plants. Have not. They have ate everything else down to the ground, and they have pulled plants out left and right every single time that we try to plant them. The very next day we come in and all the plants are up out of their holes, but none of the native plants are, which surprised me because I was like, well, maybe that'll be their food. No, they haven't touched them. So it makes me really happy to see that. And that just shows us that those are the plants that we actually need to be planting in this garden more, because we have a major deer issue there. We've got a herd about 40 deer that roam right through there. We're underneath apple trees. So of course, we're just like, we're asking them to come to us. We have bear that are seen on campus all the time. We have fox, we have raccoons and possum. We've got it all. All of the animals love this trail. And so having the fact that the native plants are doing so well, and there's plants that are taller than our kids in the garden beds now, it's incredible. So I thank you guys for the support with that and for pushing us to do native plants and for suggesting them, because that was really something that we were nervous about doing because I don't have that knowledge. And so stepping into that was so new and different for me, and the kids have just taken with it, and they love researching the plants and figuring out what can and cannot grow there, and then they are documenting the growth habits of all of the other plants that are here as well. And then this year we started our produce garden. So the bottom right picture, that is a sample photo of our produce garden. The students built that in May, like 3 days before we opened the trail and had our ribbon cutting. They decided, you know what, let's make a produce garden. Like, okay, if we can do it, we can do it. And they pulled it off. And so now we are growing a list of different veggies and fruits in there, mainly tomatoes right now. That was what held them best. We've got some peppers, and then we've got like a little strawberry patch and mint patch and things like that. But our students are harvesting them every day and then actually taking them to the cafeteria and putting them into the foods that we eat. So last year, Pulaski County High School started a program where we are doing the farm to table. And we have several beef producers in our county that are donating beef or selling it at a lower rate to the high school and to all of the schools in our county so that the students are having fresh meat. Then we decided, well, if they can do it, we can do it too. So let's try to grow our food too. So we are trying to do that, and we are adding to it every day. Right now, the kids have done all of the fall crops, cool season crops. We've got lettuce growing in every little spot possible. And then we have 2 greenhouses. One of them is plumb full already with little seedlings. And then the second one is we're going to try to grow tomatoes and cucumbers in it because it is a really hot climate greenhouse. And so we're going to try. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're going to give it our best go. But they really enjoy going out here every day, and they actually get upset if the sensory trail is not on their to-do list and something else is. All right, so thank you guys very much. Are there any questions? Yeah.
When we did the tour, you were growing some plants in these water tanks. I don't know, what were they?
So the tour, when you guys came in the greenhouse, I had 1 tank, and it was for native eelgrass that were growing for Claytor Lake State Park. We now have 2 tanks. The students just upped it, and we are working with the wildlife biologists to grow native eelgrass. And then in June, the students go and actually plant it into 2 of the testing sites that are on Claytor Lake's property. It's really cool. It's a really good project. And it's something that we're trying to push to other high schools because it's a really simple setup. It's just a box with a pump running through it. So water is circulating throughout the whole box. And then there's a little heater in the basin so that the water stays at the correct temperature throughout the entire season. Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
And that's from
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I will. I got my sign up list in the back. Now, instead of one tough act, I got two tough acts to follow. Oh, well, here we go. I have
Wait.
pictures.
Yeah, sorry, just.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yep. Okay. Basically, what I'm doing is 56-acre site. No, we're not doing the whole site. Just.
They may not be able to do it on them.
Oh,
Right, yeah, you need to be up here. Sorry, just, I'm trying to get you.
You can talk, they can still hear you, but you have to be able to hear.
Okay.
well, I'll wait until she's. Do I talk into that?
No,
just-
it's just like, you have to do with the app, they the people at home can't hear you.
Oh, okay, okay. So I'll talk over here. Okay.
Shoot.
You can see your picture.
I'm a walker, you know? It's tough to walk 1 foot back and forth. Okay, we up?
I think I got it now. I went ahead and put it in a PowerPoint. So
Well, I don't know how to do that, so I'll ask you to just,
you just page down.
just page down.
to Go.
page down. Okay, well, we'll see if it doesn't work.
One.
You're there.
There.
Okay, so I live in Ivanhoe and there's a 56-acre site not far from where I live. And it's bordered with the New River Trail on 3 sides and the New River on 3 sides and the New River Trail on 1 side. So it's a really nice little spot. It's got all the water around it and it's a big old field that was laid fallow for many, many years. And the Friends of the New River Trail decided to make this into a bird habitat. So can I walk over there? So it's basically from here all the way down and across. And then as you see, the areas that are area 1, 2, 3, and 4 are where we're going to be putting in beds. The beds are going to be anywhere from 12 foot back, 20 foot, 30 foot, 40 foot, and a couple 20 foots and another 40 foot. So we got a lot of planting to do. The Friends of the New River Trail decided to make this into a bird habitat. They worked with the DCR to get that accomplished. They put in 2001 1 mile of walking trails. They started on putting in a shed or a bench and a table and a shed and some signage and a bench, and it's still being worked on. They're putting in a handicap trail, which will be right near the visiting center there. And let's see. The DCR does a controlled burn. They did one in 2001, and it's been growing up since then. And let's see, let me get to the shelter. Nope. Page down. Page 2. Oh,
Sometimes it.
oh, there we go. Okay, there's the shelter and a bench. And then I took some pictures of there's the bench again, the field. So this is after the burn. 2 years later, we have a lot of wing stem, goldenrod, goldenrod, and some other things growing. There's your wing stem. There's the goldenrod. And then I'm not sure if that's a native or not. We were trying to figure that out. Pardon?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we got a bunch of those.
That one? That's Desmodium. Is that the little shrubby one? There's more than one kind, yeah. I don't know.
And that plant is about this high. It's a pretty large,
Okay, that one.
yeah.
Maybe.
Oops. Uh-oh, uh-oh.
Did you have more
Where is
pictures
this?
than that?
Yeah, there were more pictures. Well, anyway, there's goldenrod, wingstem. There's also cedars, walnut trees, cherry trees. We have a few milkweed. There's some violets, the purple violets, red bud, spice bush. And then, of course, there's tons of invasives. We have the honeysuckle, the rose, the tree of heaven is nice. Oh my God. So when I went down there,
Sorry, I don't think I had any, I
okay,
didn't see
well,
any other.
yeah, I got some
pictures.
birds and stuff in there too, but anyway. So when I went down there and I looked at this, I said, okay, well, this is gonna be a bird habitat, and I was really excited because I like birds, and I'm looking at this thing and I don't see a butterfly, a bee, or a bird. And I was saying, it's just a monoculture of cedars, walnuts, wingstem, and goldenrod, and some grasses, and that's about it. So it wasn't giving the birds and the animals the full spectrum of, you know, spring, summer, fall, winter habitat, food, and everything else. So I wanted to diversify the site. It's always been a thing of mine to plant natives. I've always loved native plants, not that I've known them all. And I've learned a lot since dealing with you guys. So what I'm going to be doing is all those beds, 4 sites. We're going to start doing the planting next week. We're picking up the plants on Sunday. Over 100 plants. They represent over 30 unique species to the site. So we're going to diversify the site, provide a nice mix of spring, summer, fall, winter, food for the birds, and butterflies. We also have signs that were donated. They're going to have nice little information signs. They're about this big. And they, you know, say what the plant is, a little bit about it, kind of what the other woman was describing as far as her project. And what my hope was that we're going to have these signs next to all these plants. People are going to come in, they're going to look at the stuff, they're going to say, hey, that's a really nice looking plant. I can plant that in my garden. My goal is to get people to start planting these native plants in their garden to, you know, help the native pollinators and birds and fauna. There will also be a big sign, which I haven't started working on yet, which will give the whole idea of, you know, plant to birds to, you know, the full cycle of how it goes around and benefits everybody. So we have the planting, which is going to start on the 19th, and I am looking for volunteers. So that's one of the reasons for me coming here tonight. What we'll be doing is on the 17th, I have everybody I need for that. We're going to be picking up all the plants. We're getting them from Wood Thrush Nursery, and I had on one of the slides all the wonderful plants that you paid for, but I don't have the list, so we have a lot. We'll be picking those up in a cattle trailer and bringing them down and putting them on the site. On the 19th, we'll be planting our trees and shrubs, because that's a major project. We have to the DCR is going to come in and break up the soil for us. We'll be putting in the trees and the shrubs. We'll be putting in stakes to support the wire fencing. We're going to put wire fencing in around them and then mulch around them. Then on the 21st, will be doing the flowers. And there's a lot of flowers, but it should be a lot easier than putting in the trees and shrubs. So we need help on both of those 2 days. And then on the 23rd, which is Saturday, we're going to have the invasive species workshop and any, last minute planting that we still have left over. That is going to be led by Hannah of the DCR. She's going to come down and give a talk. Because it's a DCR site, we are not allowed to touch anything unless somebody is there to say, yes, you can touch it. Everything has to get approved. When I got the plant lists approved, I had to go to Richmond to get it approved. It was a big battle, and Beth can even attest to it. She battled with them for me. She's my savior. So anyway, we'll be taking out some of the invasives. There's a lot of honeysuckle. There's some nice native trees there, and they're just drenched in honeysuckle. So we'll be doing a lot of that, and they'll be cutting down the tree of heaven for us and applying the herbicides. And we're not allowed to do that. We cannot do that. So they have to have certified people. So if you would like to volunteer, we're looking for volunteers on the 19th, the 21st, and the 23rd. If you're coming on the day to do the shrubs and trees, I suggest you bring water, a snack, gloves, and that's pretty much all you might need. If you have like some metal clippers to clip the fencing, that might be helpful because I only have one set personally. If you're coming on the 21st to do the flowers, I just suggest that you bring a little hand shovel because all I have is one for me and one for my husband. So, but I do have 9 big shovels. So we have, shovels, we have rakes, 2 rakes, 2 leaf rakes, 2 rock rakes. I have a wheelbarrow, so I have that kind of covered, but I need the little hand shovels if you want to go and plant. And then on the 21st, it would also be little hand shovels, your gloves, your water, and your snack, and maybe some clippers or something to cut down some vines. And that's it. So questions?
Where is this place exactly?
It is in Ivanhoe. I have some flyers in the back, and it has the GPS coordinates, but it's the New River Trail access. So you just go to the New River Trail access in Ivanhoe, and I have directions on the.
It's in Wythe County, right?
It's in Wythe County.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
It's 50 minutes because I'm right by the trail, and it takes me 50 minutes to get from here to there. Yes.
Are you gonna need any of the tree tubes for around those?
No, I'm not, because I'm going to be using wire fencing, chicken wire. And I got zip ties and some poles and all the stuff to put all that stuff in, and we'll just use that because we'll also use that for the shrubs. And I only have 2 serviceberry trees. The rest are shrubs, and the shrubs are coming in 3-gallon containers along with the downy serviceberries. So I could use guys and strong people.
Virginia, if you give us this information, we can put it on native plant side and also naturally.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of late for that because our next calendar is Sunday. So we're kind of, but we could talk more about other volunteer opportunities
Okay.
with the Master Nationals.
Yes.
You can shoot an email on the list. There's hundreds who owns the land.
The Department of Conservation.
Is it part of the New York Trail?
It is part of the, yes, it's a state park. And since it's a state park, that's why you have to go through all this stuff. I started this project back in February. I want you to know I was after them since February. And you know when they're going to actually come and dig finally? The 18th, the day before. And I told them I needed herbicide done in June, then I wanted it done again. And I wanted the dug up, I wanted it mulched, I wanted it prepared and ready, and they're doing it the day before.
Lucky timing.
But it's interesting because they were using that handout that says native plants for the mountainous areas. Well, what weird was there were plants on there that are not native to the mountains, and there were plants that were native that should have been on there, and then she was told she couldn't use.
Right.
So I had to call and say, well, the Virginia Digital Atlas, why aren't we using that? And so they kind of said, oh, well. So,
But that was only after she argued and argued for a long time with them. And it's like, you know, yeah, they're not, very,
it's a government situation, they actually don't want to get in trouble.
yeah.
They're just doing their job.
Carol?
How did you get involved with this?
I always had, a desire to improve, you know, native landscapes and stuff. And, you know, I've tried to do it in my yard, but I didn't realize, learning from you guys, that there's natives and then there's native to the world. So, so I learned. And
It's a process.
it's a process, yeah. So, so now I use the Digital Atlas of Virginia, and I'm trying to, you know, I still have plants that I really love, and I'm going to grow them. My daffodils, I love daffodils, but, you know, so, you know, I do have my non-natives, but, you know, I'm trying to, you know, be nice.
Do you have any specific birds that have been kind of drawn to that area that made you choose that space?
Well, I love birds. I love watching birds, but I can identify maybe 10. Okay, so the Friends of the New River Trail, which started the project originally for the bird trail, they went and got a grant from the Virginia Outdoors Foundation, as I think, did you, or she did, yeah, to do the bird trail inside there and everything. And they are avid birders. They go on bird vacations. They have lists. You ever see that movie? Yeah. Oh, you do too? Okay. And she says, and she's says there's like 50 different bird species on the trail. And
Nice.
it's
yeah.
like, really?
Well, we need a field trip, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? If you do come, and it's, well, she's actually on her bird vacation. She won't be back until like the following week or whatever. But we could set up a nice bird thing. And in fact, if all my pictures were here, I had pictures of the birds of prey. We had a couple seminars, or whatever you want to call them, classes. We had birds of prey come down, and she gave a great talk, and we had birds of prey. I don't know. There were 2 owls, a big owl, a small owl, and then what was the other one?
You're not gonna leave the talk.
No. But they were really cute.
That'd be fun.
We could weed the garden for 30 minutes and then walk
stop it.
Well, and maybe not all the birds are on the trail there. You know, she walks up and down the trail, and she's looking up in the trees and everything, you know, and she goes, you know, because I'm talking to her as we're walking, and she goes, Virginia, shut up. And she's looking at it, you know, so you know. But anyway.
There was a question on the chat from Gwen Ewing that said, did you get any help from the Whitfield Master Gardeners?
I am.
You are, okay.
I'm a master gardener, and it's very exciting. Bob has volunteered to do a class for us in April for the master gardeners. The master gardeners finally added sections, chapter 19, Virginia native plants. I mean, how long did it take them to do this? I mean, really, so I was really excited to see that. So yeah, so we got that.
So I figured out 6 months to learn.
Yes, you do. It'll be wonderful. Anything else? Oh, thank God.
Really a native.
to you, to Jenny, to Carly. Okay. What's amazed me as I've listened to Jenny, Carly, and Virginia is what a difference one person can make. And we're so glad that you found the grants and that we're able to support these initiatives. And that goes to many thanks to Carol Schwabel, who started. And I hope that in the future, if you have other ways we can help your organizations, that you'll fill out the grant form again. So, thank you.
I'll just close if it's okay.
Breathe.
Hi, I just want to say thank you, especially to our new Zoom master who is doing it for the first time tonight. And that's Ann Reardon, and she does this for Sustainable Blacksburg. So thank you very much. And thank you for tuning in.
Turn you off yet?
Okay, I have a brief announcement. Ellen and I are trying to work on collecting local ecotypes, especially seeds right now. Maybe in the future we'll do division. So if you have private property and you have local ecotypes, mean it's not something you mail ordered in, but it's actually been growing there on that property that you would be willing to share, just let me or Ellen know.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, sorry for a few glitches. There were a lot of moving parts, but I'm gonna close it up now.
If anybody isn't a member, there is a list, to sign up for the listserv, you don't have to join around.